Are we good?
It's 5.
Mr. Corbin, stickler for details. Okay, Ms. Katrina, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Smith? Here. Mr. Rowland? Here. Ms. Casabon?
Here.
Ms. Seiden?
Here.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Ms. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Impastato?
Here.
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Kugel?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Lachlan? Mr. Bender? Mr. Corbin?
Here.
Mr. Strickland? We have a quorum.
Okay, public comment, a 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda except for appeals. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold your cheers and applause. Anyone who wishes to place a comment into the record but who does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the box indicating that they do not wish to speak. So special items, the first item on the agenda is ordinance calendar number 7625AA, ordinance levying decreased millage rates for the year of 2024 for the St. Tammany Parish Coroner. Do we have a motion? Motion by Mr. Corbin, second by Mr. Burke. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
Okay, the appeal that we have on the agenda tonight is an appeal regarding New Directions 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Future Land Use Map, FLUM. Appellants are the Orleans Audubon Society, Martha Bedone, William Bedone, Jacqueline Barron, AJ Bouchon, Tara Bouchon, Gina Brown, Brett Kabarick, Chester Kabarick, Faye Kabarick, Colette Crawford, Fernell Cryer, Richard Cryer, Andrew Dare, Judith A. Dare, John D. Delchamps the third, Michelle DeFore, Dominique Hurt, Carrie Landrew, Michael A. Miners, Paula K. Miners, Robert A. McGarry, Julie L. McGarry, Lena Muse, Grant Nelson, Jerry Ostrenhaus, thank you, Henry W. Rosenthal, Lisa Russmeyer, Joan Simon, Elna Stokes, Christian Turner, Colleen Turner, Frank M. Wagner, Sharon Weber, and Andrew Wilson. Legal counsel, would you like to please address the audience and explain to them exactly what we're doing regarding this issue?
Sure. So this was an appeal from the adoption by the Planning Commission of the New Directions 2040 Master Plan on May 10th of 2022. Under our Code of Ordinances and under state law, a Planning Commission, if a parish has one, is the body which adopts a master plan. After that plan was adopted, some members of the public wanted to appeal the plan to the council under our rules and our Code of Ordinances. That question was adjudicated to the district courts and eventually the First Circuit Court of Appeal, who determined that although the parish council cannot reverse the decision of the Planning Commission, we were required to docket and hear the appeal. So that's what we're here today to do. We'll have 10 minutes speaking per side, so the appellants will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. I believe that Mr. Liner from the Planning Department will also present some information about what a master plan is and how this one was developed and adopted. And then there's a resolution to commemorate the fact that this appeal was docketed and heard tonight, but it does not in any way address the substance of what's in 2040, just acknowledges the fact that the New Directions 2040 was adopted by the Planning Commission in May of 2022. I have not seen Mr. Wilson here tonight. I don't know if he was planning on speaking on behalf of the appellants or if someone else is prepared.
We have a card from Joan Simon.
Joan Simon is the first card. So the 10-minute time total limit for appellants, any speakers for each side, for or against, and who would like to speak? Well, we've had first Ms. Joan Simon. Okay.
This will be very brief. I'm
One
Joan
second, Ms.
Simon. Hello.
154 Belterre.
154 Belterre, Covington. Yes, I'm
Thank
a
you, Ms.
40-year resident, St. Tammany. I appealed the 2040 plan. I'm not against development. We need it, but it has to be smart development. There were no studies in this plan. Let's revise it and have the studies. We've got a lot of problems in St. Tammany, and this is going to create more of them. That's all I really needed to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Simon. Next is Mr. John Vincent. Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Certainly. John Vincent, 21573 Soul Drive on Abita Springs. And I'm just going to let this sit as is. I'm not against development. I'd like you to read it. I'm trying to influence positively what takes place in the parish with regard to development. I've been involved in economic development nationally and internationally for 35 years. And I've got a lot of experience, and just as the prior speaker said, we need smart development, things that fit in our parish, support our quality of life, provide great job opportunities and careers for the citizens who live here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's still time remaining if anyone else would like to speak. I knew that part.
Mr. Wilson submitted all of this via email.
We also have a very, okay, Mr. Wilson could not attend tonight, apparently.
He's supposed to be here.
There are some really bad accidents on I-12. He could be caught up in that.
For
And
sure.
traffic is stopped.
So,
Margie
did you do a
Vicknair-
speaker card?
The what now? No, I did
But
not.
it's okay, you can still
Yeah.
speak. And please just state your
I'll
name
fill
and
one out
address for the
after.
record.
Yeah. Margie Vicknair Prey. I'm a resident of Lacombe, and I'm almost a lifelong resident of St. Tammany. I have seen the changes in this parish over the years, and it saddens me because we have already lost so much of the beauty that brought so many people here. And this project was supposed to be helping make things better, but I don't know that there were not enough studies done to really see what damages would be done and what the long-term effects would be. Because one of the things that we're really bad at looking at is cumulative damage. You know, when you're developing a little bit here and a little bit here and then a little bit here and a few years later a little bit there, you're destroying a lot more than you think you are. The people came here, a lot of people came here because of the beauty of this parish and because it was kind of rural and pastoral compared to Metairie, New Orleans. So people came here to enjoy the waterways and enjoy fishing with their kids and being able to hike out in the woods. And to just keep allowing it to be destroyed is insane, really. We have no other big draw here. I mean, we don't have a sports stadium. We don't have a major theater. You know, we don't have things that draw people like New Orleans does, or Metairie even. And to keep destroying what does make us special and what does make us good is really just not a good idea. And I'm hoping that y'all can slow things down. And like the other people said, I know development's going to happen, but we could try to do it better and try to do it right and not allow so much damage to be done to what we really value and what we're losing. And once we lose that, it's gone. There's no bringing it back. So please think hard about this and consider slowing things down and doing some more studies and taking a look at what we can do to make things better. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. By all means, just come up and state your name and address for the record, and when you finish, if you don't mind filling out a speaker card so we can have it.
Sure, thank you. I hadn't planned to speak, and I know Andrew Wilson is planning to be here. He's probably caught in the horrible traffic on I-12. My name is Carolyn Monteith. I live at 321 Coffee Street in Mandeville. I've chosen to live my entire adult life in this parish, and I chose it because I like the balance between commercial and residential and natural. We have, as everyone else has said, so many natural resources that bring people here. We don't want, I think the majority, we do not want this parish to become Orleans Parish, Jefferson Parish, St. Bernard Parish. I think we need to be very careful when we put together these plans. We need to do more studies looking at the impact. For example, my background is water quality management. When you look at the land at the intersection of I-12 and 1088 that's been designated AML, or advanced manufacturing, meaning pretty much any kind of manufacturing can be built there per the new zoning, or any warehousing. That land is the headwaters of the streams and bayous that end up draining through Mandeville. We need to be very careful when we look at how we're going to develop that land and think about the long-term impacts. I mean, Mandeville's already suffering from too much impervious soil, too many trees being removed. Flooding is becoming worse and worse. And so I request that you have planning, take another look at this, and really study the potential impacts from what we're planning to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Landry? Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Alexander Landry, 713 Heavens Drive. I'm going to be brief. You know, when you drive from Baton Rouge to Lafayette, you see, you know, the Atchafalaya Basin, and it just stretches on, you know, the coastal marsh out there. 100 years ago, that was such a dense cypress forest that sunlight couldn't even get down to the ground, which and it was all logged to, you know, create furniture for commerce. And now it sits as kind of not what it could be. It could be way more pretty. And progress is inevitable, you know, development's inevitable, but this is such a large, you know, we don't have much green space left, and every year we lose more and more of it in St. Tammany Parish. And I'm, you know, lifelong resident here. I bought a house here, you know. I'm here to stay, and I do think that the green spaces of this city, of the parish, even if we don't think that they're occupied, they are occupied just by, you know, the native ecosystems that have made St. Tammany so special. You know, it's been touched on that we are we are different from Metairie and from Kenner, and you know, if this would put us in a category, in my opinion, of, you know, basically a Cleveland suburb. It's just a faceless industry, which is important, but at this level, it's I just think it'd be irresponsible. So that's it.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Yes, sir, by all means, step up. Please state your name and address for the record, and also please fill out a speaker card when you're finished so we can have it for the record.
Sorry, Ren Clark, Mandeville, 420 Carroll Street. 40 some odd years here. I've spent my life racking and stacking pixels in what's called GIS technology, and I've done that all over the world. And what I see missing from the 440 or 2040 program is a recognition of the great science from USDA, NOAA, et cetera, that is not integrated in these decisions. We're making AML from, we're allowing AML apparently, from I-12 all the way to Abita Springs. It's a huge acreage, and it's all the way down I-12. I'm already crushed by traffic when I go anywhere in this place now. And to think about the number of 18-wheelers that this is going to bring in is astounding. But the USDA science needs to be part of this decision. The NOAA science needs to be. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife science needs to be. National Forestry needs to be. These people are scientists. They've been studying this landscape forever. When I was helping the parish a long time ago, when the offices of technology were above Toogie's Bar, I mean, we were talking about that sort of stuff. But we just can't ignore the science, and we have, because when you see those big red AML things going from the highway, from the interstate to Abita Springs, you're ignoring acre upon acre upon acre of hydric soils, of habitats that are irreproducible. And when they're torn away, we let you buy mitigation land credits from developers who own mitigation land banks. I mean, that's crazy. That's a home for unwed mothers next to a bordello, frankly. I just hope y'all will think real hard before you let this just thing go forward with thousands of acres. And a 1.5 million square foot building allowance, that's 34 acres of roof. The amount of water, I believe it's something like 24,000 gallons an acre foot or something like that. It's something insane that's going to flow off just one allowed building. Needs to be looked at very carefully, because I sit at the pour point of St. Tammany Parish, and then this recent little silly storm, we still had water to our first step. But I just hope you understand how much science is out there and how much hasn't been used.
Thank you, sir. How much time is left? Mr. Wilson, I believe they only have 1 minute remaining, but we can extend you an extra 5 minutes if you'd like to come up.
That'd be great.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
so much. Sorry about that. I thought we were at 5:15, so thought I was doing well.
We're glad you're okay. We're concerned because there's traffic accidents and bad weather. So.
No, it's just chronological issues. I filed a memorandum. I hope everyone got it. I tried to file it directly with everybody and also put it in the record. I'll put a hard copy in the record as well. Essentially, what we have here is a situation where it costs these people $6,000 to get before this particular council just for a regular appeal for a P&Z decision. Those are all filing fees, no attorney's fees. So it's kind of ridiculous, but that's how we ended up. The parish officials had decided there would be no appeals of this particular decision by the P&Z Commission. It was decided behind closed doors. So as a result, I had to file a petition for mandamus to force an appeal. That was denied, but in doing that, Judge Keller said that we had a valid basis for appeals because no studies were done. And those studies mean that this particular P&Z decision breaks the law. There's a statute, Title 33, Section 107, which requires all kinds of studies in order to allow for a plan to be properly performed. Those studies include, among other things, adequate provision for traffic, the promotion of safety from fire and other dangers, adequate provision for light and air, the promotion of the healthful and convenient distribution of population, and the promotion of good civic design. None of that was looked into. We have a very colorful plan that essentially it could have dinosaurs and grass and flowers and trees and rainbows and unicorns or whatever, but it has no studies. There's nothing in it of substance. This was just decided ahead of time that all these areas in the AML area, which is shown in purple on the flume, would be set aside for these monstrous warehouses. And there was a decision made without anybody from the parish, the real citizenry, having any input whatsoever, to turn idyllic St. Tammany Parish into an industrial hub to take all of the 18-wheeler intermodal cargo from the Port of New Orleans and put it on I-12, which is already dangerous. In my memo, I have a picture of a 4 fatality accident on I-12 right at the Covington line, which shows that this is no place to be adding hundreds, if not thousands, of 18-wheelers each year onto this I-12 to make it even more dangerous. And the people of the parish didn't know about this because all of the meetings were held during the pandemic when 3 or 4 people, a handful of people would attend, if that. So there's a complaint. My Exhibit C shows an email from one of the members of the steering committee who actually said that this whole process was wrong, the way it was handled, putting aside the fact that there were no studies as required by law. But he said the whole process was flawed because it was just pushed through with no input from the public. So what I would submit is that this should be put to some type of poll or audit or some type of referendum through the whole parish, where the parish can say whether or not they want to do this, whether they want to transform their idyllic suburban community into an industrial hub. It's ridiculous. And to do that, they would have to bulldoze 17,000 acres of wetlands and forests, which makes no sense either. We're having drainage problems. There's no drainage studies. There's no study as to whether this fire suppression capability and these big box warehouses, when they go, you can't control the fires. And it's been that way all over the country. They're a disaster. And there won't be any tax revenues because they'll be given tax incentives, and the jobs are basically performed by robots and immigrant workers. So there's no benefit to the parish for any of this. I submitted that this whole plan should be sent back to the P&Z, that they should then follow the law, and that we should put this question to the parish as a whole instead of having this type of decision done behind closed doors. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, sir. Mr. Liner would like to speak. Mr. Liner, would you like to address the council?
Good evening, council. I'm in front of y'all frequently, and I typically don't read but I guess I'm going to read at this point for this particular appeal. Just a few items that we have, and I'm just going to start kind of at the beginning, move through the process. A comprehensive plan is a community's foundational policy document. Its primary role is to guide public and private decision-making about changes in the community's physical development. Comprehensive plans cover the full geographic area of a jurisdiction and identify a vision and goals to achieve over the designated period of time, in this instance, about 20 years. A comprehensive plan also provides a guide for future land use, development regulations, capital improvement plans, and serve as the basis for zoning, subdivision, and land use codes. Jurisdictions implement comprehensive plans because they provide a guidance for orderly growth, development, physical appearance of the area, analyze community needs, and evaluate how competing interests can be balanced, and build a consensus and commitment from elected and appointed officials and interested stakeholders. This legal requirement is explicitly and clearly stated in Louisiana state law. A parish planning commission shall make and adopt a master plan for the parish. In addition, monitoring progress and updating the plan is in New Directions 2040. It's an implementation. To maintain New Directions' usefulness, the parish decision makers over time, the Planning Development Department, should conduct annual progress reports and communicate results to the Planning Commission, Parish Council, and public. These annual reports should consider the parish's progress in implementing the plan, changes in community support, goals and strategies. No more than once a year, the Planning Commission shall consider amendments to the comprehensive plan, and at least once every 5 years, the Planning Commission should conduct a thorough review, revision, and update to the comprehensive plan. Future land use map and the categories of of all the land use in the future land use map for the parish. Conservation and protected, coastal conservation, parks and open space, rural and agriculture make up 66% of the land use for the parish in New Directions 2040. 3.2% of the parish make up manufacturing and logistics. If we add in residential low intensity to the other 66%, we're at 78% of the future land use for St. Tammany Parish at conservation protected, coastal conservation, parks and open space, rural and agricultural, and residential low intensity. That's 78% of the acreage of St. Tammany Parish on the future land use map. That doesn't sound like a Cleveland suburb to me. No studies took place. I'm just trying to read my notes here. And there should be subsequent studies. The future land use map, New Directions 2040, that is the study. In addition, this particular administration in the past 4.5 years have conducted the following studies: New Directions 2040, Low Impact Development Guidebook, Wetlands Planning and Policy Guide, the Unified Development Code, Multimodal Transportation Plan, the Bayou Liberty Land Use Study, the LA 3241 Corridor Plan, Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan, the 1077 Stage 0, Go Mesa Coastal Initiatives. So there's no administration has done more studies in planning than the President Cooper administration in St. Tammany Parish, moving this parish in a resilient and responsible way. In addition, during the development of New Directions 2040, we had 276 surveys taken, 15 newsletters were sent, 56 stakeholder interviews. We had an online map where we had 182 pins placed on the map with comments, with 270 ideas based on those 182 pins on the map. 8,683 unique website visitors, 809 newsletter subscribers, 166, and it was during COVID at some point, 166 virtual meeting attendees, and approximately 250 in-person meeting attendance. That's where I'll leave off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liner. So that we have 3 minutes rebuttal, sir.
The whole problem with the studies that were just referenced is they have nothing to do with this project in terms of the synergistic or holistic effects of all of the aspects of this plan. That was the study they needed to do. There's nothing on environmental impacts. There's nothing on drainage. There's nothing on fire suppression. These are major issues that had not been addressed and need to be addressed, particularly for AML. The studies were laughable, if anything. These are just isolated studies in particular areas. There's nothing holistic that deals with the entire plan or the entire flume. To call the flume a study is a joke. It's just an image with colored images on it. That's not a study, and that's a false representation. I think that this particular council can see through that this is not true studies in the sense that we are necessary to put together a proper plan. In Exhibit C that's filed with my memorandum, there's an email from Edward Poitevin, who is on the steering committee, which is mostly developer people and landowners, and those that work for them. And even Mr. Poitevin said that he called this stealth rezoning. In terms of the so-called exchange of information, he, who's an insider, who's actually on this process, he's saying it's stealth rezoning. He says the entire rationale for the 2040 plan will be utterly negated and flawed. So he's attacking it as an insider who's part of this process, saying the process is bad, that something went seriously wrong. One of his major points is, his number 2 point is lack of public input. Virtually no public hearings of value. That means that the public had nothing to do with this. This is being railroaded through by somebody who wants an industrial hub here in St. Tammany. He also said this is premature, that they didn't do enough studies ahead of time. This is just decided ahead of time what they were going to do and then try to rationalize doing this. And he sees a lot of legal problems that will be approached with this particular plan as well. He also said that there seems to be some kind of rush to judgment in pushing this thing through for some reason. It's unclear why he did that, other than why this happened, that is. That he's saying that these people pushed through a plan that without any type of foundation, any type of factual basis, there's nothing in there that would support this plan. And so the best thing to do would be to send it back to the P&Z Commission to perform the studies they were supposed to do, particularly as regards environmental impacts, drainage, fire suppression, traffic. All of these considerations should be explored in detail on a holistic level for the entire parish and not in these isolated studies that were just described. That's a piecemeal approach which is ineffective and does not look at the entire picture of the entire parish. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Liner, did you have anything to add? Okay, that moves us to the resolution. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Kugel.
Thank you. Just, I know, Mr. Wilson, you missed the first legal comments at the beginning, so I think it's important for you to understand. Our understanding, according to legal counsel, is there is not a procedure or vehicle before us today to do any action on sending this back. Isn't that correct?
That's not correct.
The matter before us today is to docket and hear the appeal.
Right.
So that is what's on the agenda today. Again, the adoption of a master plan is within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. But as Mr. Liner pointed out, this is a document that can be revisited at any time by the Planning and Zoning Commissions and will be and should be revisited on at least an annual to 5-year basis. The last master plan that had been adopted by the police jury was adopted in 1999. So this plan is to try to bring the parish forward 25 years. So this is not the last chance that the Planning Commission is going to look at this. They are going to continue to look at this and continue to take those new studies that have been performed into account as we update this plan moving forward.
But as far as the appeal itself, we are not voting on any action on that tonight, correct?
Right, yes.
May I comment on that?
No, sir.
That's totally procedurally flawed.
Well, the other thing I wanted to say,
Sir,
if
you're out of order. A legal counsel
I thought I
spoke.
was recognized.
and I was doing that because, sir, that because you weren't able to make it, I wanted to make sure that you, at least the position we're hearing, I wanted you to make sure you were aware of that. That was my point. Other thing I did want to say, I completely sympathize with some of the concerns mentioned about the nature of St. Tammany Parish. I was born in New Orleans, but I love living in St. Tammany Parish. My family's from Washington Parish. I don't want to see this become Orleans, Jefferson, St. Bernard, etc. I do not believe, I mean, just so as far as on that separate issue,
The way I intend to serve my constituents is to keep St. Tammany St. Tammany. I don't believe this particular thing obligates us to change that. And as mentioned, according to our legal counsel, we do not have before us tonight any procedure to change what was, and I'm just saying that's the position of our legal counsel. So I just want to make that clear. What is before us tonight is not whether or not we're going to send this back to planning and zoning.
Sure, right, and I'll just read from page 12 of the First Circuit's decision, just to put it on the record as well. It says, the plaintiff's pleadings do not seek to rescind the master plan at this time, but only request the parish council to be mandated to docket and hear their appeals. And that was what was subject of the writ of mandamus.
Thank you. Mr. Rowling, you had a question?
Do that again?
No, stop pressing it. Press it one time.
I did.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. I apologize for that button problem. If you, Emily, if you can just make sure before, I don't know what other councilmen have to maybe comment on this, but before we go to vote, to just what a yes and a no would mean based on this resolution. I don't know if you want to address it now or wait till the, all the comments are finished.
May I comment on the posture?
Excuse me?
May I comment on the procedural posture?
No, sir.
We're not even to the resolution yet. That's the next.
We're about to get to the resolution. Mr. Rowling asked a legal counsel a question. She's going to answer that. Then we're going to move on to the resolution because I see no other questions.
But, if I may.
You may not. I'm sorry.
Can I ask one more time? Can people speak?
Mr. Rowland.
Mr. Rowling still has the floor, and Ms. Kuvion has not answered his question.
So there was a resolution included in the agenda packet that you all have in front of you, and that was posted online, that touches on some of what Mr. Liner pointed out and how New Directions 2040 was developed, and resolves to acknowledge that the adoption of New Directions 2040 by the Planning Commission was done on May 10th, 2022. So a yes on that motion is just acknowledging that New Directions 2040 was adopted in 2022 by the Planning Commission, and a no vote is just not to acknowledge that it was so adopted.
Okay, we have Ms. Casabon.
Yes, just to make clear on this.
Can you move your mic? It's the one to your left. No, not that one.
Over here.
Your other left.
Why is it, oh,
That's it.
You can have it.
I can have it on that. Ross, can you come up and help me clarify what I'm going to say for the new councilman and stuff?
I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Correct me if I'm not saying it correctly, but anyway. I've been on this a long time, and we dealt with the 2025 as a planning commissioner. When we agree to this 2040, do we not, there's many changes. The planning and zoning still has to look at these different areas and what and how we put things in them, correct? It's not like a blanket, that is zoned for that, you can do it. We still, as a commission, as a planning and zoning, what goes in there still has to go through the planning and zoning and through our process, correct?
Right, this is
And through the years, did we stick with the 2025? You weren't here as long, but a lot of things that were zoned that we thought, we'll do this, we found out that it didn't work or whatever. So I'm just saying, this is a living, breathing suggestion of how we're looking at and where we're looking at this. This is not in stone. That definitely, there's a lot more that goes into this, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That this is not a Pacific thing. They still have to go through all our processes.
This is a foundational document for land use planning. This is not zoning. Zoning goes to the zoning commission. We'll end up in front of the parish council because that's an ordinance, and that would be the venue for that. As far as drainage studies or fire suppression, that is done through the building process.
Correct.
Not the planning process.
Correct. So just to clarify that living through the 2025, this is the 2040, that we will be able to still look at each area individually.
Not only will you, but you're required to
You're
by
required
law.
to, right.
We cannot change any of the zoning map. We cannot change any permitted uses of any parcel of land in this parish
Right.
without it going to the zoning commission and then coming to the parish council to be changed by ordinance.
Correct.
Okay, Ms. O'Brien?
Okay, so the long and the short of it is, this is a recommendation, not a requirement, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we need to have everybody understand, this is what's being recommended, but there's no obligation for the parish council to agree with those recommendations.
Yes.
Chairman?
Mr. Lyman?
Am I understanding it incorrectly?
So think of it this way. It's a 20-year vision. The recommendation or on a future land use map may be a recommendation that happens in 20 years. It's not a recommendation that may happen tomorrow. So I wouldn't necessarily qualify it as a recommendation, more as something to review and look at in making a decision on what, zoning change may take place or what subdivision may go there. So I wouldn't consider it a recommendation. I'd consider it as information used to make an informed decision.
Correct, but in other words, I think some people are misunderstanding that as this is what will definitely be there.
Correct, that it's not.
And that
You're
is
right.
not what
Yep.
this is.
Okay, with that being said, I see no other questions. We have a resolution to acknowledge the adoption of the New Directions 2040 by the St. Tammany Parish Planning Commission. We need a motion. Motion was by, Mr. Bender, second by Mr. Burke. Please vote with your lights. Has everyone voted? Okay, I think that's a yes.
The motion is unanimous with 3 absent. Now, Larry, Mr. Rowling, what was your vote? Yes. The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. By Mr. Corbin. Thank you. Have a good evening.